What do you get when you throw two natural born intuitive mediums together with a passion for animals and empowerment?
Spirits, angels, and guides. Oh my. I'm empowerment medium Tara Diana.
And I am intuitive medium Nancy Brady. Together, we focus on the good,
The bad,
and the ugly of working with the spirit realm.
but mostly we're focusing on the good.
Hello, Tara. Hey, Nancy. Welcome back. And for have you joining us, thank you for checking us out. And for those who are steady Eddie listeners, thanks. Welcome back.
And for those that aren't, welcome, welcome, welcome. You so want to be a part of this pod.
Yes.
Get it? Do you hear that? Pod.
We're trendsetters, by the way, because we're taking the word tribe and we're using pod now because I am an animal communicator and I love the word pod, and we feel you can't offend any whales by saying pod.
Oh my goodness, I love that. We refuse to offend any whales. And you know what though? Let's be. I mean, you and I are very, very conscious of that kind of stuff anyway. So this is a good thing. Nancy, seriously, love the topic that's coming up.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about how to co-create a life with spirit while staying in your human. And this is a hard one, Tara.
This is interesting because, I talk about balance a lot, in our work, specifically balancing your muggle life with your human life, with your spirit life, and all of that, and why we have to co-create that ability to be balanced. Because there is a really, really, really strong desire in individuals, specifically individuals that may be coming off of trauma or maybe, self-esteem work and many different avenues, stress-related, that will want to use spiritualism as a form of, I'm going to try to think of the right word here, but a form of not just upliftment, like go a little bit sketchier,
medicine almost.
Yeah, like I'm going to become a spiritualist. And because I'm going to become a spiritualist, I'm going to start working on developing all these skills. And when I develop all these skills, it will make me feel better. And when I develop all these skills, people will look up to me. And when I develop all these skills, I'll become important.
And, the thing is, and you're going to hear Tara and I say this all the time, and you're going to hear a lot of mediums and psychics when you go to them say this, we are a soul living a human experience. We are meant to experience the good, the bad, the ugly, right?
We're meant to experience this right now. Yeah. These moments, these things, these lessons. And, lessons are not lessons. We are meant to be here and have this experience. So if we deny the experience, what are we doing?
Well, and I'm a firm believer the experience is all about elevating our soul, but we don't have to live in that headspace. I find too, it's also very, especially for developing mediums, it's a little bit addictive, right? Because you spend so much time in your crown chakra and your happy place. And, a lot of us growing up, we naturally went there. We went to that place because it felt good. So if there was something, you're being bullied at school, you could daydream and you could go up into that space in your crown chakra and just be happy. But then people started, I find sometimes people get addicted to that because it feels good. It's a place where all the goodness is, right?
I always talk about, I'm allergic to grounding. I'm allergic to my humanness. I'm allergic to down here. And when I say that, what I'm really trying to say to people is that I am far more attuned to spirit. So it's easier for me to be up here, to be creative, to be, just open space up here feels good to me than it is to be down here humaning. That doesn't mean I cannot human. It doesn't mean that, I actually am allergic to red, like the root chakra. Like, remember Tina Cleland? Or remember her? She's still with us and still our friend. But she would used to spray me with like, what do you call that? Color energy sprays. And red would just make me break out in hives, like massive hives, where she'd like, you cannot be my test subject anymore in front of people. Because she says it's supposed to help you go from that place. And literally, my body was like screaming, stop. Who are you? What are you doing? This is not who you are. But you're not wrong. The feeling of being etheric and up here is a bit of a safety net for others, because you can go to that space of, well, you don't have to understand me because I'm this. Spiritualism to me is a philosophy. Okay. So spiritualism itself is a philosophy, following the 7 principles, good come to me, good go through me, I hierarchy of archangels, etc., etc. That's a bit different than the spiritual work. So if you are going to be a spiritualist, that does not mean you even are trying to be a medium or an intuitive practitioner. You're just doing the work for yourself and for the people around you, because when you work on yourself, you're benefiting others, right? But people use spiritualism, and again, a lot of the stuff we're repeating over and over, but they use it as a form of or as an excuse for poor behavior, right? I'm a spiritualist, I know what I'm talking about. Or I work with, the white light, and so therefore I know best. And then we have this idea that being human is not good enough.
Yeah,
It's absolutely good enough.
it is.
It's absolutely fine. And there's 100 million trillion people, Nanny Boo, that are out there that will not even tap into their full-on spirituality. They will just follow the organized religion path or the atheist path or whatever they're following. They will just follow that path, and they will succeed, and they will be fine.
Yes, 100%.
But we're talking about a balance.
And the other thing I want to add to this conversation, this will be Tara's trigger number 754, is when people use it as a crutch. Like, oh, I aligned my chakras today, and someone felt it, and it ricocheted off of them, and that's why they became ill. And it was, those sort of things where everything has this spiritual meaning. Sometimes a bird outside your window is just a bird. Sometimes someone becoming ill because you're leveling up is just them maybe having gastrointestinal problems.
Like, remember what I told you, Nana? Do you remember when I told you that when I first started doing this work and I first started incorporating and building, helping people build their businesses and in their spiritual businesses, and by having events and hosting events, and I started to get this every single time I got a cold, someone would say, "That's spirit telling you, Tara, you're doing too much." And I was like, "No, I think that's my kids in preschool."
Yeah, they brought germs home, they're petri dishes, which is just
not everything can be or should be, as you were saying before I so beautifully interrupted you, because that's my MO. Not everything is a spiritual. I don't believe in coincidences, but I also don't believe that every single thing is spirit looking at us. Can you imagine how busy spirit would be if every single person was constantly being given these downloads that we were all supposed to try to catch and grab and put them on ourselves and send them out? I had someone that I worked with that I once said to me, I once said to them, "Oh, you're my equal in this work." And that tanked everything. That was the end of the friendship, basically. We're, cordial still for sure, but that was the end of that. And why it had to be like that, to this day, I don't know. We were absolutely fine up until that point. And they were going on about something, about how I do something differently or more effectively with spirit or whatever. And I said, "Well, you're my equal." And that was the end of that. Whether they realized that or not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I'm not really familiar with what went down. But
do you see what I'm talking about, though? Like, they literally took that as an invitation to level themselves up and now look down on me.
Aha, I see where you're going with it.
Consciously or unconsciously.
Right. Student has surpassed the master, sort of. Yeah.
And then that comes to the end of that, because I'm not interested.
So how do you feel that you co-create a life between spirit and human balance?
I literally don't live in spirituality. Erase. I think there's a two-pronged thing here, Nan, two paths we're talking about. And there's one about spirituality, like I said, about the philosophy. And then there's one about spirituality in the sense of spiritual work, metaphysical work. Metaphysical work being mediumship, readings, energy work, etc., etc. And for me, I have zero problem turning on and off the spirit work. I can literally walk into a room and turn on and go.
It's interesting you say that. Now I'm going to interrupt you. As you know, I had a teacher, and I mentored under her for quite a while, who ended up actually getting reported to the Better Business Bureau because she just kept taking money from people. But one of the things she always claimed is, I can't shut it off. And she wouldn't go to the mall, and she wouldn't do this. And she always had an energy headache. And I thought, wow. So one of the first things I do when I teach my students is how to turn it on and off, and and how to reground and get back in your human. For me, it was such an irresponsible thing, or something that maybe
dramatic. Like,
very
that's dramatic. That's showmanship. Oh my goodness, I can't turn it on and off. The hells you can't. You have control.
Yeah.
You have control. And bless Claudette Godin long before she crossed over, when she once said to me, you control. Spirit doesn't control you. You are the one in control. And your mentor, the person who did all of that was legitimately for showmanship. And, everyone does the work differently. Let's be honest. There are people that love to sit in meditation, to get into their power, to sit in that space because that feels good for them. I don't have the time, nor do I have the energy. That doesn't jive with me. I don't love it. I don't want to go into a room and while everyone's staring at me, sit there and they go like, oh, I don't need it. I just want to get up and go. That's my personality. That's how I work. So again, spiritual work, I turn on and off. Spirituality, I live in that. So for me, how do I balance it? Well, the balance comes into recognizing that being a spiritual person is different from working in the metaphysical work. Yeah. So I don't need to be downloading all day, every day. What I do need to do is recognize that I have to sit in my power, set up my boundaries, set up my protection, if you will, set my intentions for the day, and then go and slay the day. That is what I'm going to do, because I'm all about the goodness come through me, the goodness come to me, the goodness all over the place. I'm going to bathe in the goodness, girlfriend. And then when I do that, my humanness becomes easier.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you're not going to have issues. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel, when you stubbed your toe or when someone says something mean to you. What it means is that it's not going to affect you at the same level because you are sitting in your power.
Yes. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Boom.
I don't think I could have said it any better. For the new listeners who are just getting to know us, Tara does this work full time. I do this work on Saturdays. I have a very
wonderful... You do it all. You work on it on the evenings. And they call to me.
But when I do my readings, I save my time for Saturday. And where I'm going with this is during the week, I work my muggle job, my non-magical job. During the weekend, I save one day just to myself, just to be in my human, do whatever it is that pleases me. And I really feel that there's a good balance with that,
Yeah, no, you've always been able to do that since I've known you. And, for our listeners who are just jumping on now, Nan and I have only been like a part of each other's pod for a couple of years, 3 years, maybe 4 years now. And when you just know it's like one true love kind of thing, come into that space and you just work really well. And the best thing about Nan is that I have a very, very tight pod. I have a crew that will stand around me, hold hands and chant protection. And Nan just fit in beautifully. And she's just become part of that beautiful pod, that family shield. But I will say this, you carry a very, very strong mindset. You don't get flustered as easily as I do. Personality-wise, we jive well, but we're very different personality. You have way more grounding mechanisms than I do, which is why which is also why you can let me talk over you. You know what I mean? It's not because I'm trying to be rude. It's not because I'm trying to one up you. It is literally because I'm excited and I had no control. And you're okay with that, right? So you have that ability to be grounded in that space and be aware of what you need. Now, I have been learning this over many, many years to set boundaries, and sometimes I have to go back and reset those boundaries, right? Like I literally, while we were talking, I just before we started this, I'd seen a text from someone, didn't answer it right away because I was busy, asking me for a reading. I don't do texts anymore. So what I mean by that is I don't take the text. Like if you're texting me, you need to be emailing me. Text is my private. And so then they found me on Facebook and kind of chastised me. They were like, I tried to reach out. You didn't respond. Don't know if you have the same number, but I really would like to talk to you. Are you going to take this potential reading? And I was like,
Wow.
I have 950 different ways you can get a hold of me. And just because I've decided text isn't one of them. So I had to, realign. That's someone else's muggle part. My hurt feelings would be my muggle part. My ability to be like, go away. I sent you a message. You'll find me if you need me. And no resentment towards them or anything, just a moment of trepidation in the conversation. How do I balance it? I literally just said, okay, if you want me, here I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. So in closing, would you have any advice for our listeners around this?
Going back to that two paths, right? You got your humanness here and you got your spirituality, which is a philosophy over here, and a belief structure, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've got the actual work of intuitive connection to source, spirit, energy work, all of that jazz. You need to be able to understand that there is a difference between these two, spirituality and spirit metaphysical work. You need to understand that. Before you can even balance this, you need to balance those. If you feel that being on 24/7 is the only way that you're going to be your true authentic self, I'm sending you hugs and love and lots of healing, because that's going to drain you faster than your head can spin. But if you can coordinate the understanding that your spirituality does not need you to be talking to dead people all day, every day, or tapping into everyone's energy all the time, then you are going to find your humanness and your spirituality will balance beautifully, because you're working in a beautiful kind of harmonious space.
I love that. It's a great way to finish it off. And I would add grounding. So as Tara was referring, it was so funny. I'm a Taurus, so I am like the bull standing really steadfast on the ground. And I envision Tara like a helium balloon, and I'm holding on to the string some days. Just
Your life.
come back down. Come. I'm just kidding. But anyway.
She's not. That is an absolutely accurate description.
So I think in closing, ground yourself, listen to everything that Tara just said. And yeah, we should tell them about the Facebook group before we.
You know what we should? I'm going to give a shout out for us. I'm going to give a total shout out for us. So I'm at the pet store the other day, got this huge bag, 100-pound bag of dog food for all the doggies. And I'm coming out and this woman's coming in. She suddenly goes, "Ah," and she stops. And I kind of glanced over at her, and I thought maybe I was too close to her, or she was walking in as I was walking out with this big bag of food. And she says, "Is your name Tara?" And I looked over and I said, "Yes." And I was like, what in the God's great goddesses is going on? And anyway, I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, I love your podcast." And I was like,
So awesome.
she goes, I was the one that reached out to you about, I saw you doing some work in Chilliwack, and I was wondering what the atmosphere was like out there. My name is Sarah. I totally remembered her. And I was like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah, so shout out for that. Also at the church on Saturday at the psychic fair. We belong to a spiritualist church. No dogma, no creed, nice flow of energy. And two women I didn't recognize came up to me and said, "Hey, we listened to your podcast. We found it." And I was like, "Well, that's cool." So yeah, shout out to us. But seriously, go join the Facebook group. Empowering Intuitive Souls. This group is growing and growing and growing. It is a private, safe place. We have different practitioners that come on and put different, posts in there. You're welcome to post questions and ask. Sometimes we come on and Nan does a beautiful one, Wisdom Wednesdays, where she pulls cards. I still don't understand how people pick 1, 2, or 3 and even know and whatever, but they do it and you do it so beautifully. And there's so much good stuff going on in that group. So, just come and join.
Yeah.
And we're on every platform out there, man. Tell them, baby.
Yes, we are. You can find me at all the platforms at Nancy Christine Brady, and you can find Tara at
Spirit Essence by Tara Diana. And
the other thing I was just going to say is in the description below this podcast, there's also going to be a little link. So please send us your questions. We'd love, love, love our listener question and answer ones. So if you're thinking of anything, there is no such thing as a silly question. Put it in there, send it to us because we love talking about it. And you might even get your name shouted out on our podcast.
And besides that, what more fun is there to challenge Tara with a trigger?
I really think we're probably up to about 1,003 so far. So
yeah, but ask a question that you think will trigger me. I love all the juice and all the tea. So bring it on, friends. Thank you so much for spending your time with Nancy and I. Your energy, we appreciate it.
We very much do. Until next time, everyone. Thanks for listening.